Good morning, everyone. This is the Irish Sports Daily Morning After Recap Show. I am Greg Flammang. We're recapping the game from yesterday against Northern Illinois. Notre Dame goes down 16-14. A lot to talk about here. I think, I had a night to think it over. None of the conclusions are very good, but there are some conclusions, I think. And so we're going to talk about those. We're going to talk about your frustrations that you have. There's a lot of comments in the chat already. So we're going to get to those. We're going to talk through it and see where we come out. But that's what the show is going to be today. We're going to go over some snap counts. Notably, not a lot of snaps for an athlete like Jadarian Price for Notre Dame yesterday. So we're going to analyze those things. Really appreciate everyone who is already tuned into this show. These aren't the most fun. Last week we had a very good time on this show, and today it might be a little bit less of a good time, but I appreciate everyone being here so far. And if you haven't done so already and you would like to, we would like you to, please subscribe to this channel. Please like this video. Please hit the notification bell so whenever it is, we are going to go live. Links to the podcast, as always, are in the description below. And the news isn't all bad because ESQ Clothing has restocked their bamboo dress shirts. They're all online. You've seen them on all your favorite Notre Dame players and coaches, and they're made from proprietary fabric that's cooler and softer than cotton. It's the best shirt for any occasion. Go to esqclothing.com and use ISD15 to get 15% off your order. That's ISD15 to get 15% off your order. It's hard because I don't know. I can't even really express. It's hard to express the emotions at this point, just because it's so disappointing. Just the way that it went, the poor play. I think that's the biggest thing. It's just like the level of play, especially offensively. It just isn't where you want it to be. Nick Gurel says it's big time Marshall vibes for sure. I mean, it was the worst game offensively since Marshall, which is shocking considering that the quarterback of that game, Tyler Buckner, had left the program and is now back and is a walk-on wide receiver. And people smarter than me who know more about the sport than I do view Riley Leonard as an NFL prospect. And he definitely did not look like one yesterday. So that's tough. BG asks if Riley Leonard wasn't getting big NIL money, would he be the starter next week? I personally don't think Marcus Freeman cares too much about that. Listen, it's much more costly to be a bad football team than it is to play a quarterback who's been paid a lot by boosters or the fund or whatever it might be. It's far more costly to play and have a bad team. So, it's I don't think it matters, honestly. I think they'll play Riley Leonard for as long as they think he's the best option. And when they don't, they'll move on from him. I've been asked this question a lot about, will Notre Dame actually make a move here since yesterday? And it's hard to say because I don't know how the coaches feel about Riley Leonard. I don't know how the coaches feel about Steve Angeli. I don't know how they feel about the problems that they have. We haven't seen them. We haven't seen them in practice or anything like that. So we it's not like we have our own eyes to judge on this. What I would say is at present, Riley Leonard's athleticism and his running ability is not enough to overcome the deficiencies in the passing game. Just straight up. The passing game is poor. They can't throw the ball over 10 yards. He's 8 of 20 throwing the ball over 10 yards this year. He's 0 for 2. He's only thrown 2 passes over 20 yards. One was dropped by Jaden Greathouse on the slot fade yesterday. And then the interception to really put Notre Dame at risk. And that's how they ended up losing the game off that interception. Here's the other thing about that play is, we can debate, and we did debate, and we didn't love. Jamie and I did not love the play call on the morning after on the instant reaction show yesterday. if Riley Leonard just heaves that ball and just gives it all he's got, the ball will either it's going to be incomplete or it's going to be caught. The ball he can throw that ball over the top. It's there. Marcus Freeman said that they got the look they wanted. I don't know why he threw flat. He throws flat. He throws as if he throws it as if it's he's gonna like zip it in there instead of putting air on it and throwing it over the top. I don't know why he did that. He said bad feet. Maybe his feet weren't set to throw it the way that he wanted. I don't know. He said bad eyes. I don't know what that means because they got the look that they wanted, apparently, from Marcus Freeman. So I don't know what he means by bad feet, bad eyes. I don't know what he means by that. So that ball can be thrown better, much better. So that's the interception to kind of end the game and to put Notre Dame away. I mean, 2nd and 1. He had almost thrown an interception play before where Bo Collins made a really good play. So that's the part to me where it's like, look at you could just throw it better as well. I don't love the call in that spot just because it had been so poor for Riley Leonard to that point. It's like just you could run it, right? Run it with Price. Run it with grind them out like you did against Texas A&M a week ago, right? You didn't take that shot then. So it's just that's kind of where it is. So look, I don't know how it is with Steve Angeli. Obviously, Riley Leonard, what I will say about him, he's pretty good in the pocket. He navigates a dirty pocket pretty well. And, again, PFF has Notre Dame down for allowing 33% pressure rate. We'll have to see if that gets amended. Sometimes the pressure numbers get amended. So they're under pressure a good amount of time, right? 33% is a good amount. But he had a lot of opportunities. Both of his interceptions yesterday were from clean pockets. So that's got to get worked out. If you can't operate from a clean pocket, then you really can't be the quarterback. And like 11 runs for 16 yards, you're not doing enough in the running game to justify, being out there and putting up with a bad passing game. DTuber U 2425. Result yesterday was also painful, but Notre Dame can still end up 11-1 or 10-2 best case and make the playoff. Maybe this is the loss Notre Dame needed to light a fire to never lose to a team it should beat. Yeah, like for sure. Like they could just play better and win the rest of their games. They could. There's nothing in Marcus Freeman's history to suggest that it will be the case. Straight up. Like this is now the 3rd year Notre Dame found a way to lose to a team like this. And the thing about the quote yesterday where he said, we've been here before, obviously he's referring to his own experience where they lost to Marshall, right? And then they lost to Stanford. He's referring to that, right? But I think for Notre Dame fans and people who have followed the team for, I'm 43 years old, have followed the team for as long as I have. We have been here before, and we know, we can recall when we knew Bob Davie wasn't the guy. We can recall when we knew Ty wasn't the guy and Charlie Weiss. And to some extent, Brian Kelly. I mean, Brian Kelly left when he was 11-1. He had in the year before he had come off a playoff berth, right? So I think that for BK, it didn't really get to the point where we knew, but I think with Marcus Freeman, we have to be honest about the fact that we probably know how this ends. You're still losing, like this performance is still in there. And because the reason that DTuber U will say they can still end up 11-1 or 10-2, because you're looking at the schedule, right? You're looking at the schedule and say, well, they can beat these teams. What I would say is USC, going to USC, they're going to be tough because USC did the thing that Notre Dame should have done yesterday. They had a tough opener against LSU. They had problems. They had things that needed to get worked out against LSU. Then they came home against Utah State, and they won 48-0. That's what Notre Dame should have done or could have done. If you're a real program, if you're a serious team, then you will do that. You will go and you will go put a team away. And that's not what Notre Dame did. So that's a tough game right there. Notre Dame always struggles going to LA. And then you look at the rest of the schedule and you say, well, that they could beat all those teams, right? Well, yeah, but you look at NIU, you're not supposed to lose to them either. Marcus Freeman has found losses every year as Notre Dame's coach. He found them in 2022. He found them in 2023 in situations where they were favored, where they were the better team going into it. And they found a way to lose these games. And so how can we predict or expect that they will continue to just, from here, they'll just go smooth sailing? Like, there's just there's no reason for Notre Dame fans to feel that way. They are probably going to lose a couple more times this year. Probably. I don't know when they're going to be. It's not really predictable, but a lot of those losses have been unpredictable. And that's just the way it's been. Jason Warnock says Marcus Freeman put himself in a position where he can't lose another game this season. Yeah. I mean, they can't. They probably will. They probably will because they have done so in the past. Things got to get figured out. Let's see. Question from BG. Greg, did Denbrock forget how to coach an offense? Other podcasts saying Freeman is directing the game plan. Hard to believe that, but if true, Freeman is not the answer. I don't know. I don't know what other podcasts are saying. I don't know who you're referring to or the context of those comments. But what I will say is just, I don't know whether he forgot or what it is. Completely unimpressed with what he's got them doing in the passing game. He's not stressing teams. He is not putting them in bad situations. He is not, look, they hit an explosive NIU yesterday. The first pass is like, I mean, I think the running back went the wrong route. I think it was a complete fluky weirdness. Okay, so there's that on the opening touchdown for NIU. I think on another play they hit another explosive where they got Drake Bowen on a wheel route. Notre Dame not running wheel routes, right? They're not doing anything in the passing game that is, I mean, they're running slants. They're running a 3-level concept where you're running a wide receiver out, you're running a corner, and you're running a hitch. They're running slot fades, which is not, it's just a slot fade. It's not anything schematically that's good. You can't, the whole thing with Denbrock was you get guys in matchups. They're not getting Mitchell Evans in any kind of matchup. They're not able to get him out there. Every time you throw the ball to Bo Collins, he's catching it. They're not able to get him in any kind of matchup. You got to be, it's unimpressive. It's unimpressive. They can't throw the ball beyond 10 yards. It'd be one thing if there were if Riley Leonard was missing like wide open guys. That's not the case. The passing game is a mess. And the running game is okay in spurts, right? Like Jeremiah Love and Jedidiah Price, like they're making athletic plays, but they're just not schematically that I'm very impressed with Notre Dame's offense right now. I think a lot of people try to do the thing where it's like, we're hearing behind the scenes that Marcus Freeman is controlling whatever. I don't even know what that means. Like, he's the head coach for one. He's dictating the game plan. I don't know what that means either. Like, what does that mean? What does that mean? That they're throwing the ball 38 times. Is that Marcus Freeman dictate? Is that the reason that the pass game concepts are not difficult? Like are rudimentary? That they're not creative? Did Marcus Freeman say that? Like, don't be creative on offense? Like, I don't. What does it mean that he's controlling the game plan? I don't. You threw the ball 38 times. Like, you're running the ball 30 something times. I mean, I could go look at it. Um, it's just, I'll just check it real quick for the sake of it. But I just don't see this thing where people say like, oh, Marcus Freeman is controlling X thing. Notre Dame had 28 rushing attempts. Like, is that like 28 rushing attempts and 33 passing attempts? Like, is he dictating the plays? Like, no. Like, I just don't buy this thing where it's like, oh, Marcus Freeman is in control. It's his fault. Like, he's responsible for the whole operation. He has to get them ready to play. Like, it's 100% his responsibility. That's the thing about being a head coach. So I don't, whatever that means, that he's controlling the game plan, it doesn't even matter to me. If he was controlling the game plan, he should have been telling them to run the ball at the end of the game there, instead of chucking a pass you haven't hit all season. So Chris Schreiber says the deep ball interception might have been the worst deep ball I've ever seen. Zero height on it. It was an awful pass. Straight up. Just awful throw. Shocking throw. Just period. So let's see some more comments here. Trying to get to Water Walker 06 says people are saying it is Tressel ball, but Tressel would have run Love and Price more than 15 times. For sure. That's where I come out. Like, Jadarian Price, 4 carries. He's on the field for 13 snaps. I mean, he's got to run stairs after the game to get a workout in. I mean, he's not getting any work. 13 snaps for Jadarian Price is unbelievable. I can't understand it. So that part to me is Tressel ball, they'd be running it a lot more. I mean, they ran Leonard. They rode down the field. They ran Leonard a bunch on the opening drive, and then they just kind of stopped. Just didn't really do it anymore, except for some, short yardage situations where they were also successful. I don't know. If you're not doing that, then I don't know where to go with this. Annie Davis says, every game on the schedule is now a toss-up. Yeah, I tweeted it. Playing offense like this, you can lose every game playing offense this way. You're not. It's just not a serious offense right now. You're not threatening teams. There's no reason for a team to play their safeties deep. There's no reason for a team to drop corners, drop linebackers anywhere beyond 10 yards because you can't throw it there. And here's the other part too about that is you have a quarterback that one of his main weapons is his legs and scrambling. When everyone is short, when everyone is running short, when no one is being stretched vertically, then that means when he puts the ball down or he tucks the ball and tries to run, no one in the back end has any depth. No one has their back turned because they're chasing a wide receiver. They're all standing there between 5 and 10 yards looking at the quarterback. You're creating natural spies by not stretching the field. That's another problem that Notre Dame has. It's everything straight drops, one play action pass yesterday, and no one is running deep down the field. And so therefore, no one is stretched out. And so therefore, the whole field is condensed. Can't scramble around. So that's another problem that Notre Dame has there. KT, thank you for the super chat, says, I'm glad I said it. He is a head coach. He's supposed to control everything. Come on, Irish fans. The truth of the matter is Riley was never a prolific quarterback. What I would say is how good of a quarterback Riley Leonard can be is up for debate. He was better than this at Duke. He just was. And they have found the worst version of whatever Riley Leonard could be. And either that needs to change or they need to go with someone else who can run the things that they want to run. Because right now, he is not effectively running the offense, period. There was an excuse against Texas A&M. There is no excuse in this game. There's no excuse in this game. You have to be able to do the things that you want to do against an opponent like Northern Illinois. And it didn't happen. And so they need to look. I don't have a horse in the race. Doesn't matter to me. Frankly, it would be so much better if whoever it is, they would find someone who can do the things that they want, because I don't like having a show like this. I don't like it. It's not fun talking about why the team was bad, but it is what it is. So I don't know. I don't like. All I can say is Riley Leonard was really bad yesterday. It was really bad yesterday. Like Tyler Buckner bad, who is a walk-on wide receiver right now. That's where it's at. It either gets better, you put someone else in the game. They need to figure it out. They need to figure out what situations. Stubborn Mick, thank you for the super chat. I don't know what any of it means, but I am done giving little schools their program-defining signature win. Figure it out, or Freeman has got to go. 3 OCs, 4 quarterbacks in 3 years, 1 head coach, no continuity. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's difficult, right? Like you see their coach is crying on the field. It obviously means so much to them. And look, they did a great job with their game plan and executing their game. Because here's the thing: what is the best part of Notre Dame's probably team? Their whole team. The best part of their team is probably their third down defense. And NIU said, we're gonna do everything we can to negate that advantage that you have. Jordan Clark only played, I want to say, 13 snaps in this game, right? He was definitely in the teens. Maybe it was 16. And the reason that is because they were in heavy all the time, and they were able to get out of 3rd and long situations. They were not in 3rd and long in this game very often. And the times that they were in 3rd down, who was making the plays? Jordan Clark and nickel, right? So they threw him the ball twice. They threw the ball at him twice. He broke it up both times, right? They were able to keep those guys off the field. And because of that, their 2nd down, 2nd and long, they must have had some tendency that Notre Dame does on 2nd and long, because they were able to get 6-7 yards a carry. They're just running at Notre Dame on 2nd and long, getting in the 3rd and short, and being able to manufacture first downs that way. It's like I said, they did, or it's like I tweeted earlier this morning. They weren't able to score points in the second half. They only scored 3 points in the second half, and it was the last second field goal. But in their first 3 drives, they came up empty. They ran 27 plays. Notre Dame ran 21 total in the second half. They were able to hold on to the ball. Like, if there is a fault with the way Notre Dame's defense played, that is it. They were not able to get off the field. You give their offense more and more chances, right? Not that many possessions in the second half for Notre Dame on offense, right? So, when you're running 21 plays, you can't get any kind of rhythm. And they ran a ton of rhythm the entire time. Now, they were able to get stops, right? Which is a credit to them. Jaden Osbury with a couple of stops. They missed a field goal. Jordan Clark with some stops. So you're able to get stops and you're able to keep them out of the end zone, but they were able to hold on to the ball. And that's they had a pretty decisive time of possession advantage. And in that way, it's like a Navy game. Frankly, it was a different kind of Navy game. The way Notre Dame has lost to Navy in the past, just shorten the game, and that's how it goes. Daniel Masood, big picture question: how do skill players transfer into Notre Dame after this year? Hartman came looking to elevate, and Notre Dame gave him no receivers. Now Notre Dame has better receivers, and we give them a quarterback who can't throw. It's a fair question, right? Fair question, and I think this has to be the end of the portal quarterbacks for Notre Dame. It has not been a fit. It has not worked out, and you need to go with the guy. First of all, your room is good enough to where you have options there. Find the best one. Find the best option. So that's for one. I mean, you look at USC, right? Like, they were trying. Lincoln Riley did not want Miller Moss to be his quarterback. He played well enough to where it's like, okay, we're just going to go with him. And now look where USC's at. Now they have a guy who's been in the system for 4 years, and he knows exactly what he's doing. So I think it's less so skill wide receivers. Like, I think you'll always get guys who want to transfer into Notre Dame, but I think that the portal quarterback thing needs to go away. It's just not worth it. It's not worked out. Allocate those funds in a different way. Blayberg says, let's be honest, Jared Parker looks like Bill Walsh at the moment. I'm going to be honest with you. This is 100% correct, because Jared Parker, he had Notre Dame, he had guys open. He was getting guys open last year. They just weren't hitting for whatever reason. And there were some things that he did, regarding like personnel. Although I don't know how much that was his fault, but like there were problems with Jared Parker for sure, especially in big games, right? Or away games. But with him, it was at least the people are open if you can just get it to them. And for whatever reason, they couldn't get it to them, or get the quarterback to make a better decision. Right now, I don't see people open. And and here was the thing. I said it last week. I said it. Not a lot of guys open, right? And not a lot of, not winning in the back end, and B, like, they're not really scheming guys open either. So that's the deal. Sean O says, was Riley Leonard injured? Why did he stop running the ball? Obviously he went down at one point. He got hit on the one play where he got sacked, and he just kind of threw the ball, and he hurt his arm or his shoulder or whatever. Whether he was hurt or not, he's in the game. You got to play him. You got to play him. Let's see. Nick Gruel says, where were the tight ends in the game? Did Eli even play? He definitely played. Wasn't targeted. I mean, where were a lot of people, right? Where was you can't get the ball to Jaden Harrison. I mean, you're barely giving the ball to Jadarian Price. Do one pass, I think, to Mitchell Evans, maybe two passes. Let me check this. Mitchell Evans, 2 catches for 26. Can't get the ball to Mitchell Evans. Where's a lot of guys? Where's a lot of guys? ND for life. Mind-boggling that Junior didn't play one snap. So the problem for Junior Tuli Halamaka is he's playing the Viper spot, and Botelho and Boubacar are playing well. So that's the problem that he has. Those two guys are playing good football. So it's going to be hard for him to get into the game. I would say that it's very notable that Josh Burnham played the majority of the snaps at strong side end yesterday. I think, to be honest, it wouldn't shock me if Bryce Young was pushing to pass Oben at this point, who has shown nothing through 2 games, nothing, and they didn't play him. They barely played him. I think they're going to be ramping up Bryce Young, and it's going to be a Burnham and Young situation at strong end, would be my guess. Let's see. ND for life. What is up with Marcus always asking the guy for advice? Seems to me like some of these things he should know as the head coach and not an analytics guy telling him what to do. I think you are asking about that there was a play when Notre Dame had stopped Northern Illinois on a 3rd down. It was going to be 4th and 1, I believe it was, or 4th and 2. And he turned and asked the guy, like, what do I do in this spot? And he obviously told him to accept the penalty and get to 3rd and 12, which he did. Which personally, I thought that was the right thing to do. Just because your 3rd and long defense is the best part of your team. They ended up converting because, the quarterback and the wide receiver made a really good catch. They made a good play. And so they made a play and Notre Dame didn't. And so they ended up extending the drive. They didn't score on the drive. That was when they got the 4th down stop from Jaden Osbury, who I think needs to be playing a lot more. So that's the deal. But yeah, I don't know. To me, you want people to tell you in this spot, like, hey, it's better to accept, right? I don't have a problem with that. I don't. He doesn't need to be an expert in analytics and knowing these things. If he wants to do it, he can, and I commend that. Like, that is, I don't have a problem with him seeking advice on things of that nature. Michael Schween says, how can the coaches who got paid millions not see Leonard's issues in practice? Why not sit Leonard for a series to try to create a spark? No accountability. I can't speak to practice. I don't know how practice is going. So I don't know about that. I don't like I don't like sitting guys for a series, because if you create a spark, you're sitting them for a lot longer than a series, right? Like, if Steve Angeli goes in and does something, and then if Steve Angeli goes in and they score a touchdown, well, you're going to keep him in the game. So, like, are you comfortable making a decision? What if Steve Angeli goes down and they move the ball and they miss a field goal? Then what do you do, right? Like, you put yourself in a bad situation. I think you go into a week and you have a quarterback who's like, this is our quarterback for this week, and you stick with them. Like, I don't have a problem with that. I think, just as generally, right? Like, look, when you lose, it's easy to go back and say, like, yeah, you should have done X thing different in terms of personnel and especially with your quarterback. But I just don't mind. I don't mind sticking with a guy, but now you have to evaluate the position and say, okay, like, we have to give Steve Angeli 1 reps. You just do. Um, you got to give him ones. You have to at least consider it. I don't know what they want to try or whatever, but you have to consider moving on. It can't look like this. It's just cannot. It's not good. It's like unbecoming of a team that has playoff aspirations. Um, let's see. Byron Boyce says, I have a problem with Notre Dame players. They let Coach Marcus Freeman down. The players need to be held accountable. Coach Marcus Freeman didn't throw that god-awful interception. That's 100% on the players. They let Coach down. Yeah, I mean, on the play, they gave their player a chance to make a play, and he didn't. He did the opposite, right? I think, generally speaking, it is Marcus Freeman's responsibility to put a winning product on the field. It's his job, right? Like, if you're a teacher and your kids are taking a test and they all do a bad job, you can't be like, well, you kids let me down. It's your fault. Like, you should have been able to take this test. I taught you all this stuff, right? You're responsible for the product. He is responsible for the product. Sure, I can look at individual plays where you need to make the play. For sure, right? On a wheel route that goes for a long gain, Drake Bowen, you got to cover the wheel. Just, that's the deal, man. You're taught. You're a flat player. Player runs to the flat, then he runs up. You got to turn and run with them. Like, that's just how you play that. Jack Kaiser, poor run fit on the explosive run, the 28-yarder. You got to cover the gap. You cannot vacate your gap and have poor gap discipline, and then they are able to bounce it. Jalen Sneed, you got to keep the edge, man. Like, if they're sitting there and you're an edge player and their running back bounces it and you're playing off and soft, and then you let him around the corner, you can't do that. You can't do that, right? That is a player error, 100% player error. It is not Marcus Freeman's fault that happened on those particular plays, but overall, it is his responsibility. That is the deal with all coaches. You need to be able to put a good product on the field. There is no excuse for the product to be this poor. It'd be one thing if NIU went out there and just looked awesome and lit the world on fire. Can't lose a game where the opponent has 13 points with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and that opponent is from a MAC school. You can't have that. You cannot lose a game. Like, so many of these, I don't want to say nitpicky stuff. Problems with the defense and staying on the field and having to stay on the field are only a big deal because it's 14-13 and not 31-13. Because I'll tell you, Northern Illinois, they can't play that way if they're down multiple touchdowns. If the score is 28-7 at halftime, they can't play like that. But you allow them to play like that, where 3 point whatever yards a carry is effective. Like that's the problem. So, Michael Sinnott says players are a reflection of their coach. Marcus Freeman knows he won't be held accountable, and so do the players. No incentive. I don't think that's true. I bet you Marcus Freeman knows for sure he will be held accountable. I don't think this is Notre Dame. He does not feel happy about he does not feel happy about the situation. He knows this is a very big couple of weeks for him till the bye. I mean, this is a big 3 weeks coming up. Let's see. Coach C says, Greg, everyone is harping on Leonard. We are 6 for 25 on third downs through 2 games. This falls on Joe Rudolph and the O-line. If you can't run the ball to set up the pass, you will never convert on third downs. Yeah, sure. I mean, it's on all of them, right? I mean, look, you got to be able to complete passes. You got to, like, it's 3rd and 5, right? It's not like it's 3rd and 20, right? No one's asking for a 3rd and 20. It's like 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 4. You got to be able to convert these, right? I mean, NIU was able to convert these all game. So you got to be able to do this stuff, right? Let's see. Jason Warnock, why does everyone hate on Angeli so much? I don't know that anyone hates on Angeli. Who are the Angeli haters? I don't know that they exist. Who hates the backup quarterback? I don't know that that's true. Chris Schreiber says, Jaden Osbury has been the best linebacker the first 2 weeks. I would agree. I would agree with that. He has been very, very good. Yesterday was not the best game for Jalen Sneed. He did some good things, but he did some things in the context of the game that were like pretty costly in terms of extending drives for Northern Illinois. Didn't lead to points, but they were able to extend drives, keep the ball out of Notre Dame's hands. And so that's kind of the deal. Tony Crapful says Riley Mills gets abused. He did not have a great game. Howard Cross did not have a great game. Howard Cross with 1 tackle in the game against a team that ran the ball 45 times. That ain't it. Not it. From your 2, like here, this is a major concern as well. Your your interior line is just getting mauled. I mean, the line of scrimmage is just being moved in a way that is not happening on the other side of the ball. And for Notre Dame, look, you've got a bunch of new guys, fine, whatever. Notre Dame has Riley Mills and Howard Cross in there. That can't be happening. It can't happen. You can't be an elite defense if your D tackles are getting moved like that, especially against a MAC school. Okay, it happened a little bit against Texas A&M, not as much, but this was not a good performance from Mills and Cross. Just not it. Blayberg says, gentlemen, you need to stop coddling Marcus Freeman. This is 3 years in a row. I don't know that anyone's coddling him right now. I don't see that happening. Nick Gruel says, who has had the most disappointing, hasn't lived up to expectations to start the season? I am going with Riley Mills. I mean, I think RJ Oben is one. I thought he would be a top player for Notre Dame. He is someone who is not going to be in the lineup very much going forward, in my opinion. So I think Riley Mills is one for me. RJ Oben is one for me. I think I think Riley Mills is one, just because you need him to be an impact player, and he isn't an impact player. He's not having an impact. Um, and so I think he's one. Uh, let's see. I mean, obviously on offense, it's the most important one is Riley Leonard. So that's that's the reason Notre Dame is in the position that they are right now, is he played a very poor, very poor game. Like you could lose your job type of game. There's not a lot. I mean, because even like some of he's not making like good throws either. That's the thing. It's not like he's mixing it. Like some of, I mean, look, it's not like some of it is good, but it's like not winning plays, right? Like you get to make winning plays, and he's not making those winning plays, or he didn't yesterday. And so it can't be like that. It just can't. I mean, it's the Tyler Buckner thing. It truly is. That's where Notre Dame is. They're different players. Riley Leonard is a much better build for a quarterback. He throws the ball much better than Tyler Buckner. But the result is the same. It's just very poor. Carlos Robinson. If Marcus Freeman can't get it done in this new NIL era, then who can? That's the question for me. People, the question was asked on the post game yesterday, kind of like if they get rid of Marcus Freeman, like who's an option? And it's like I don't know, whoever. Like, look, it's been Notre Dame hasn't been like a national contender. I mean, look at they went to the playoffs under BK, but like they haven't been like favored in the playoffs, right? Like they're huge dogs every time they go up in one of these playoff games. I mean, it's just like, look, every coach since Holtz has been not it. And, regarding Marcus, it reminds me of a quote. Till I'd sent this to the OFD guys, but it reminds me of a quote from the hit movie Notting Hill, where Anna Scott breaks up with Alec Baldwin in the movie. And she's like, I just couldn't remember any of the reasons why we were together. And the thing with Marcus is he was supposed to raise the ceiling of the program through recruiting and development. They are having their worst recruiting year of the last, since his tenure. And they have not raised their ceiling. And they have found their floor in every season so far. So that's just the fact of it, right? It's not a good position to be in. Let's see. Don't want to do that. Jason Warnock says Freeman is coaching for his job. That's true. Peter Davistu says, is it time to evaluate if Gino Guidugli is a good quarterback coach or not? Yeah, we can have that discussion. We can definitely have that discussion on Gino Guidugli. I don't know exactly, what the issue is, because look, he hasn't really had Riley Leonard for that long either. It's like he was hurt in the spring, mental reps, things of that nature. Steve Angeli's looked pretty good since he's been around. So Chris Schreiber says the Rubio injury has hurt. Yeah, I mean, it has, I guess. He's a big body, but look, who else is a big body? Riley Mills. He's a big body, and he's getting shoved around. You got Riley Mills getting shoved around. It's not like it's not like Riley Mills is in there dominating, and then they take him out and they bring in Onye or Heinisch, and it's like, it's a complete difference. They're all getting shoved around all the same. So that's the deal. Doesn't look good. Don't have a great segue today, but this show is also brought to you by VSR Media. Founded by Notre Dame football pregame host and Emmy Award-winning anchor Vahid Sadrazadeh, VSR Media provides professional and cinematic video and photo Whether you're looking for a collegiate or pro level highlight reel, have a personal story to tell, or are aiming to diversify and grow your business, VSR Media specializes in short and long form video storytelling, social media management, and website design. VSR Media also captures professional headshots, senior and sports photos. Contact them at vsrmediacompany.com. Mention Irish Sports Daily to receive 20% off your first project. Visit them online or give them a call at 574-800-9106. Once again, I really appreciate everyone being in the show. It's a tough show, tough conversation. And I'm, I guess in a way I apologize for I feel like as I'm talking, I have a pretty negative attitude about things. But I want to be honest, that's how I'm feeling at the moment. But I appreciate everyone kind of hanging in there and having this conversation with me. Because I just feel like we're all kind of going through it. So I appreciate everyone participating. Please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the notification bell. So whenever it is, we're going to go live. We're going to be going. No matter how this season turns out, we're going to be going. Because that's how we do things around here. Let's see. Let's see. Kyle King says, let's go. What does the future look like on defense? I have hope for CJ and Jay Love on offense, but we are likely losing Ben Morris and Xavier Watts after this year. Don Schuler looks good. I think Christian Gray looks good. There's Jaden Mickey who's waiting, who's in the wings there. There's Leonard Moore, who they really like. They got a bunch of talented freshmen coming in. The linebackers are obviously going to be a strength for Notre Dame. On the D-line, the ends, I don't have any concerns about the ends. On the interior, you're going to have to go into the portal there. You're going to have to go into the portal. Find a way to get a portal guy because I think Heinisch is good. I think Onye, they're both like serviceable. You can play them. Rubio, he's been hurt. I don't even know what his level is. I think they're going to have to find some D tackles in the portal somehow. I think Schuler is good. I think what's his name? Chalich forced a fumble yesterday. Didn't work out, but I think he's a possibility there. You might try to bring in a portal safety, but they got some guys. They've got some guys. Let's see. John Cooper says Cross comes to the press conference all defensive, and he had one tackle. Yikes! I didn't see his press conference conversation, so I can't really speak to that. Rajon, let's see what Rajon said here. I'm gonna try to find. Oh, okay. Rajon said, did the coaching staff get ahead of themselves, respecting an easy win? Did the team reflect that attitude? I don't know about the staff. They definitely weren't ready to play their best ball. So I would think that they probably did. Look at you go from beating Texas A&M to playing the Northern Illinois. They probably expected to win. They probably expected to win easy. And obviously they didn't. But at the same time, like you have to look, a lot of teams yesterday struggle bust. Penn State struggle bust with Bowling Green. Alabama struggle bust with South Florida. Oregon struggle bust with Boise State. Boise State's, I think, a better program than NIU is, so that's a little bit different to me. But look, teams struggled against lesser opponents yesterday, right? Some teams did. Found a way to win. Found a way to play the way you need to play, right? And Notre Dame never did. They never played the way that you need to play in these games to win and to be successful. And so that's why they are 1-1, and those teams are not. Michael Schween says the lack of any wide receiver separation is inexplicable. We've never seen anyone running free. Can't we please scheme something? I agree. I said this in the beginning of the show that they are not getting people open either by just winning one-on-one battles. I will say on the first interception, there's one opportunity there. Bo Collins is running free down the sideline. He had made a move on the safety. There was no over the top safety because the middle safety it was the one who broke on the route by Greathouse. If that ball is let go, he is going to be open. Whether or not it's caught, I don't know. Whether or not it's a good pass, I don't know. But he is open, and so you got to take advantage of those opportunities, and they were not. John Imperial says, who was responsible for the quarterback on the 4th and 2 bootleg on the final drive? I'd have to go back and look at it. Whoever the backside end was on that side is probably the one who, unless they sent him crashing, right? Unless it was a full sellout. I'd have to go back and look at who the backside end there was. And even then, it might not be him. So I don't want to say it's definitely that player, but it's more than likely that player. Chris Schreiber says Mitchell isn't healthy. He's out there. I don't know what his health is or what that situation is, but if you're out there, then you got to perform. Although to be honest, like I don't see anything wrong, particularly with Chris Mitchell. I don't see the problem with him. I can't say that there's any particular issue with any wide receiver. I mean, the one that let everyone down was Jaden Greathouse. He dropped the fade ball at the end. So, I mean, or he dropped the fade ball in the second half. So, that's the deal. Stubborn Mix said, which captain played well yesterday? Watts. I think he led the team in tackles, or he was first or second behind Kaiser. I think Kaiser. I mean, he didn't really have an impact in the game. He made a bunch of tackles. He didn't miss any tackles. He had a like the type of game that he had. They had a screenplay against Morrison second half that looked like it was going to go the distance, and Kaiser just went out there and grabbed the jersey and pulled the guy down, which I think saved points on the drive. So that's a pretty big play, but that's 8 yards down the field or whatever it is. Didn't really have an impact. The only defender that I would say had like an impact on the game. I mean, Xavier Watts almost made the play of the year, catching the ball up in the air and then trying to throw it back to Schuler. That's a heady play by him there. That's good stuff. So he had that play. I think the only other player who had like a real impact defensively was, I would say Boubacar did some things. I know Osbury did some things. Jordan Clark did some things. Jordan Clark had a couple of big reasons. So John Cooper, you literally just sold every reason he shouldn't be here anymore. I don't know if that's about Marcus or whatever. If it came across that way, then that's how it came across. It is what it is. Water Walker says they need to figure out a way to raise the floor. The ceiling should go up in response to that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, to be honest, like last year, they raised the floor last year. They greatly raised the floor last year. Like every game against an inferior opponent last year, they annihilated them. And then in the big games, they laid an egg. You laid an egg against the only one they didn't was USC. That was kind of the only time. But you laid an egg at the end against Ohio State. You laid an egg against Louisville. You laid an egg against Clemson. You kind of laid an egg against Duke. Found a way to win that one. So that's the deal. Ed Swizik. How far can Leonard actually throw the ball? The interception traveled by. I don't know. It's funny. It's like he appears to have a strong arm. When he guns it, it looks that ball's got some zip. It's spinning pretty good. I don't understand that deep ball. I don't. I assume he can throw it further than that. He can certainly throw it with more air because that ball had no air. I don't know what that was. I don't know what to say. BG, Greg, you're the best. You're the best, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you being in this chat. Scott L says, Holtz always said never flinch. Marcus Freeman flinches a lot. He wants our players to focus on not making mistakes. Our quarterbacks and other players look afraid to just play. Marcus Freeman needs to shift his whole mentality. Maybe in some spots. I mean, look, everyone loved him last week when he's running out of the tunnel and going crazy and all that and showing all that emotion. Everyone loved that. I don't know what the disconnect is. I just think it's not there for Notre Dame right now. He's not preparing them. I've always said about offense, like in like defense too, is everyone has good schemes, right? Like if Mike Denbrock was on this show, I'm complaining about the lack of creativity or whatever it is. If Mike Denbrock was on this show, he would explain to me exactly why they're doing what they're doing and why it should work and why it's not working or whatever it might be, right? Everyone has good schemes. Everyone does. Can you teach it? Can you get them to execute it? That's it. That's teaching. That is coaching. That is what coaching is. You have to be able to get them to do the things that you want to do at a very high level. That's what all the best coaches do. And right now, it's just not being done. And so, that's like a very big picture way of looking at things. But here Notre Dame is in the third year of your program, and you look like this against Northern Illinois. It just can't happen. David Solomon says, I've said it many times that Marcus Freeman is not the answer, but more likely the go-between to our next coach. Look how quickly Matt Rule has changed the culture at Nebraska. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I haven't really paid that much attention to Nebraska. I mean, obviously you beat Colorado. They're terrible. That's a terrible program. Colorado is. We talk about, people need to stop going in. Prime ain't it. He's not trying to run a program. He's trying to get his it's a showcase for his son to get drafted. That's what it is. They don't care about defense. They don't care about the run game. They don't care about any of that stuff. That's not a real program. So sure, Matt Rule had a good win yesterday, but Colorado stinks. They're terrible. Rajon says, listening to other pods, you're about the best as far as being realistic on what transpired. I appreciate that. Thanks, Rajon. Sterling James says, can we expect Notre Dame to lose a couple more? Historically, you would say yes. Yeah. Historically, you would say they are going to lose again, just because that's what it's been for the 3 years that Marcus Freeman has been the head coach at Notre Dame. They have found ways to drop games, even when they shouldn't. I mean, look at like 2022, right? Like Notre Dame could go blow out Purdue. They could blow out. They could blow out Purdue. They could blow out Miami of Ohio. They could blow out Louisville. They could go on a bye, come back and lose to Stanford. That's exactly what happened in 2022. They blew out North Carolina. They beat Cal. They blew out North Carolina. They blew out BYU. And then they came home off a bye and lost at night to Stanford, a terrible Stanford team. That's what it's been. So yeah, it's not a that this team is a tough matchup for Notre Dame or this team they give them problems. Notre Dame has found ways to win found ways to lose inexplicably every year, and they have done it again. So there's every reason to expect. Past performance indicates future performance. Like past behavior indicates future behavior. That's what it's been every time. So we should expect it at some point. Let's see. Chris Schreiber says the entire Leonard thing doesn't make sense to me if you aren't going to take advantage of his strengths. This has been the most mind-boggling thing to me since yesterday. Yeah. And an inability to find his strengths, an inability to get him to play the way that will enable him to be successful and enable the offense to be successful. Not just his strengths, but the offense's strengths. This is my thing with Jeremiah Love, 11 carries. Jadarian Price, 4 carries. These are your two best weapons on offense. Say what you want about the wide receivers, whether you think they are overachieving, underachieving, or whatever. Two players that are not underachieving right now when they get the ball are Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, and they are not featured. They are not featured in this offense. They are featuring other things. You have to get those guys the ball, man. You have to build the boat out of Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. Jadarian Price cannot touch the ball 4 times. That cannot happen. You just, because you can't throw it, you're having trouble throwing it, just hand it to him then. Just hand it to him. So, Chris Jenkins says, thoughts on them getting the boos and the "you sucks" yelled at them leaving the field. Obviously, I don't like that. I don't like abusing players. People aren't happy, right? It's happened before. It'll happen again, right? I don't like it. It's not something I would do. You don't boo. To me, you don't abuse people like that. You don't abuse people like that. But I understand it. I understand people aren't happy, right? That's not something I would do. Don't recommend. David Solomon says, we need size and girth on the defensive line. We are too easily moved off the ball. Yeah, I mean, it's a problem with Howard Cross for sure. He's smaller. But again, Riley Mills, who's bigger than him? Who's bigger than Riley Mills? Just getting bullied. Just getting absolutely bullied. Maybe call Armel Mukam. I didn't see him on the I don't think he got any reps. Maybe he's an answer. I mean, obviously they don't think so because they're not putting him in the game. Let's see. Isaac Kudlewicz. Why did they not go quarterback draw on final play before field goal? Probably get 5 to 10 yards. And we all know passing wasn't going to work out. Did they have their timeout at that point still? I can't remember if they still had that. I think they do. I think they did. I think they still had their timeout left. They could have tried something. With 5 seconds, like just a quick whatever, because the 62-yarder, I just thought there's no way he's making this. To me, I just thought he's going to be 10 yards short. It just didn't, like, look, I understand he said he had the wind at his back. He'd never made one that far, but the wind, and the previous one was blocked because it was too low. I really question that. I really, really question that. Because if you have the wind at your back, then that's more likely to get the ball into the end zone. That's what I would have rather done. I really question the field goal. That was, whatever your chances of making a 62-yard field goal are, they have to be at least as good. I mean, it's like, to me, it's like 0% because there's no way he's getting there, in my opinion. Whatever chance you have of hitting a Hail Mary has to be more than that, even if it's like 5%. It's better than a 62-yard field goal. Mach 21127 says it's hard to blame the defense other than the fluky first NIU touchdown. They were on the field for far too long, many snaps, and only gave up 3 points in the second half. I mean, they are responsible for being on the field for too long. They need to get off the field. So that is their responsibility. Again, there are mistakes made on defense that should, kind of to your point, be kind of null and void and seen as nitpicky when you've only given up 13 points with 5 minutes left in the game. It should be negated by you having 35 points on the board. But it wasn't. And so all the little things, all the little advantages that NIU could pick at were then just magnified even more because of the score, right? So look, it's their responsibility for not getting off the field. They made mistakes, to be clear. They made mistakes in not getting off the field, but they did get stops, and those stops were not answered by Notre Dame drives. Like, let's look at the drive chart. Let's look at the play-by-play drive chart. It's going to be very exciting. They missed so NIU missed a field goal, start second half. Notre Dame went down, scored a touchdown. Then NIU went 10 plays for 34 yards. So they're not getting anything off that. They had to punt, but they're on the field for 10 plays and almost 6 minutes, right? So that's not good. That's you don't want a team that have 10 plays and 3.4 yards a play, but you get off the field. Next Notre Dame drive, 3 plays, 5 yards, and a punt. Then NIU had the ball for 9 plays, 30 yards, almost 4.5 minutes off the clock. So again, 9 plays, you're going about 3 point whatever yards per carry or yards per play. You get the stop, they get off the field. Notre Dame goes 3 plays, 3 and out. NIU goes 5 plays, 16 yards, has to punt. Then Notre Dame throws an interception. Like, they score a touchdown to start the second half, and then they answer with 3 plays, 4 plays. The rest of the stuff doesn't matter if you're already up, you know? The rest of it doesn't matter if you're already winning the game. And so you could just get off the field, right? Like, you don't have to have a 10-play drive and an 8-play drive and a 9-play drive. You don't have to have all that, but you gotta get off. You gotta score points when it's your turn. Tristan Narcisi says, was Riley the best quarterback out of camp, or was there no true competition? I think this is kind of a false choice. It's possible that there was no true competition, and it's possible that he was the best quarterback out of camp. I don't know. The only part I know is that there appears to have been no true competition. I don't know how Angeli played relative to Leonard. I don't know how Leonard played. We didn't see any. We saw one practice where they did team stuff, and that was the first one, and no one had any pads on. And Leonard didn't look good, but neither did Angeli. I mean, it didn't look bad. They looked unremarkable, basically. Listen, it's like any camp that you don't see. We heard that he did some good stuff. We heard he did some bad stuff. We heard the defense was dominating. To me, I'm just kind of tired. Like, personally, I'm tired of hearing about this is how X guy looked in camp. Until we see it, it doesn't matter to me. I'm tired of hearing about it. Oh, X guy looked great in camp. Cool. I need to see it. If you're not going to show us, then it doesn't matter. I don't want to hear on background. I'm tired of hearing on background. Daniel Masood says, Leonard's advantages are supposed to be experience and running. If he doesn't run, makes bad decisions, throws interceptions, and is always too late on throws, then what are we doing here? Yeah. I think that's true. Oh, Kirk. Sorry, I must have missed the super chat. I apologize. Let me throw this up here. ND used Wimbush to beat a tough Michigan defense, then switch to Book. Can we do something similar by switching to a better passing quarterback? It's a fair question. The thing with Book is, I mean, yes. First of all, I'll just answer yes. They could. They absolutely could. It's a little bit different because Book was also mobile. So you weren't losing that aspect of it. They were also gaining. The other thing that really helped Brandon Wimbush, helped Ian Book, is he came back and that immediately, he came in and that immediately kind of coincided with Dexter Williams entering the lineup. So that really helped Book. The other part too is like Ian Book did kind of revitalize that offense. He did. So that is possible. It is a possible thing. Angeli could come in and just throw the ball better, and their passing game could get better and better. So that is a possibility. It's just, I don't know if we can count on it. We'll have to see. Scott L. In response to your thoughtful response to me, Notre Dame overall didn't play a good game last week. We did a good job winning it. D was good, but had many sloppy moments. The first 3 quarters on O were sloppy. 100%. This is what it was last week on offense. The opponents were different. I think probably the quality of opponents were different, but the outcome was the same. At this point, last week in the game, I thought this team doesn't have it on offense. And then they went down and scored, right? And I think they were about to do that in this game until Leonard threw that interception. They were going to do the same thing. It was 2nd and 1. They were moving the ball. You could have just leaned on them and gone down and went up 21-13. And then NIU has to score a touchdown to beat you. And the only time they had scored a touchdown on you was when they hit some weirdo play. But instead, they threw a terrible interception, and that's how we are, and that's where Notre Dame is. D. Brasco 22 says, "Can't wait till the second loss to try other quarterbacks. Riley Leonard isn't good enough to blow teams out and get younger guys and quarterbacks playing time." Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't want to be all doom and gloom like this can't get better ever. But for the first 2 games, there has been no improvement. There has been none. No improvement on offense as far as the passing game and concepts and any of it. It looked exactly the same against NIU as it did Texas A&M. It just did. And so, I mean, look, it could get better, but it's hard to predict that. RC says, "I still don't understand why we can't recruit a quarterback out of high school and develop him for 4 years. A, because they usually won't stick around, and B, hopefully that happens with CJ Carr, with Minchie, with Angeli, one of those guys. They have to consider it. They absolutely have to consider that." Brian Heaney says, "Wouldn't this be the best time to start Carr? Angeli is not long-term. Carr would not have an easier schedule to go through." I don't know where Carr's at. You know, it's one thing to look good in the spring game. It's another thing to look good against live bullets, with an offensive line that isn't great at protecting. You know, I just feel like you're kind of setting him up to fail a little bit. And also, like, you're also basically, I mean, forget Riley Leonard, like Minchie gone, Angeli gone. You know, and Jelly's been around. I don't have a problem with giving him a chance. He's looked good every time he's played. Every time he plays, he looks good. To me, he's earned an opportunity. Blayberg says, Texas A&M scored 60 yesterday. They did. Although NIU's probably a lot better than McNeese, to be honest. Daniel Masood says, "Is there a problem with stubbornness on the coaching? Feels like they're constantly coaching for what they had planned or what they want to happen rather than pivoting, adjusting to a situation." I think coaches they're always going to, coaches want things to be predictable. They want to have a confidence that what they plan to happen is going to happen. And so you're not going to do a whole bunch of things that you haven't practiced and or planned for. So I guess in a way you could call that stubborn. I think that's probably the best way to do it, right? Because you don't want to go out doing things that you haven't really tried or you haven't really planned for. It's very hard for them to do that. I think the idea is to have a lot of things at your disposal that you are comfortable going with, so that if it doesn't work, well, I'm comfortable doing this other thing. And maybe they're just at the point now, especially offensively, where they're just not comfortable pivoting, to use a word that you said, pivoting to something that they haven't really practiced or they don't feel confident in. Is probably where it is, right? If they felt confident in something other than what the game plan called for, then they would probably do it, right? And they probably did change some things that, I haven't gone back and looked yet, but it's just they're just not really good at anything right now. So maybe the things that they pivoted to, like if the things you plan for aren't working and the things that you adjust to aren't working, then maybe you're just not ready to execute at a high level, period. whether you game plan for it or not. Oh man. Ray Jean says, how about the sounds different coming off Rendell's foot? Yeah. I don't honestly like this is one of the more I don't think this has cost them in any kind of way, but what's going on here? What is going on? It seems like the things that I heard and that people saw, right? So these are things that people were seeing in practice, was that he was getting crazy hang time and crazy distance. Look, Jamie is not one for hyperbole about stuff, about really anything. He was talking about Rendell like he could be awesome. And what we're seeing is just so not awesome. Like, it's kind of nothing. Like, if anything, like he has benefited from a bunch of favorable roles. And look, maybe the way he kicks it lends itself to that. I don't know. But it doesn't seem like he's even trying to kick it that far. It'd be one thing if he was shanking it or he was giving it like a big boom or something. Like it seems like he's not trying to kick it far at all. So Scott L says, everyone liked this video. Greg always does a great job, but he showed up and is killing it today. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. Please hit the like. Hey, listen, we're going longer today. You're all here talking about it. So let's just go. I'm as long as there's comments, I'm just going to keep going. It's fine. Byron Boy says, Greg, I heard you say Angeli throws a good ball, comes out with pace. He does. He's got some zip on it. He spins it for sure. He can throw the ball. He can spin it. I like the way he throws it. Look, if Notre Dame went with Angeli next week, I would be fine with it. Because look, if anything, it's going to look like it did this week, which is not good enough. So I don't think he'd be worse than that. I think he's a better passer than this. We've seen him play better than this. So, more comments. Someone's talking about Deuce. He has left the class for all intents and purposes. He's visited Auburn 3 times in about a month. Notre Dame just had their home opener. He did not come. He went to Auburn twice. It's not a committed player. He's obviously out of the class, whether he goes public or not. Let's see. Irish Natty says the pain is easier together. I'm walking around in the fog for sure. Happy to have you here. Happy to be here and provide you this this outlet. Jeffrey Zielinski says they won't let you see practice and the sources are lying about practice performance. I don't think people are lying. I don't think people are lying to us. That's not true. I just it's not that I don't trust them. It's just that I need to decide for myself. You know, I don't want to hear it anymore. I just I need to see it and decide. Because, you know, it's to the point where it's like you can't give them the benefit of the doubt anymore. Can't give them the benefit of the doubt. Matt Lafreniere says, how many of the 4 quarterbacks are on the roster next year? 2. Well, I mean, Riley Leonard obviously won't be. One of them will leave. One of Minchie, Angeli, or Carr will leave. And it better not be Carr. So I think one of Minchie or Angeli leaves. I think that's just logical, right? It has nothing to do with what I know about any of them. It's just logically speaking, they're all not going to stick around. Water Walker says, I'm just mad Notre Dame brought Chris Mitchell to Notre Dame for him to run hitches and outs. Yeah, man. Yeah. This is probably one of the more baffling things from the season so far is that the pass game concepts are just kind of they're not creative. You're not creating anything. You're not putting the defense in a bad situation, especially when like NIU is such a heavy zone team. It's like you can there's a lot of good zone beaters, right? That give teams problems that you can put them in a bind. And look, maybe all the zone beaters that they have, they don't have time to do. But it's like you're just throwing the ball. Like their most successful passing, they ran a couple outs yesterday that were good. They ran a couple like hitches in the middle of the field with Jaden Greathouse that were good. But like that doesn't scare NIU. You're just moving the ball, but that doesn't scare them, right? You're not really threatening them. Like I wouldn't be threatened by that. So I don't know. Daniel Masood, I appreciate all the interactions today, Daniel. You're doing a good job today. Good job by you. After such a catastrophic loss, what is the pathway for this season being considered a success? Obviously, winning out would be great, but is that even a realistic possibility? No. To me, it isn't realistic. It isn't. The pathway for this season to be look at. I think you need to play good football, right? And the record will reflect that. Play good football. Like I saw, I think it was Covered 3, the pod, they were talking about Notre Dame should be eliminated from playoff consideration. Listen, if you go out there and you dominate your opponents and you crush them and you start playing like a playoff team, then the rankings will follow and the wins will follow. Like Notre Dame, you always have the ability to just go out there and play well, right? There's also the other side of the coin. You can go out there and play terrible. You can also go out there and just execute and play to your capability. You could, right? So like there's nothing, like people can always, like the eye test on this is so bad. The eye test is so bad. But you can also just flip someone's perception by going out there and being explosive and scoring 40 points a game. You could. And people will change their mind. Like there's no rule. Like everyone who is dogging Notre Dame today, everyone who is saying that they're terrible and they should never be a playoff team because of their schedule or whatever, people don't care about schedule. They care about how it looks. And it looks terrible right now. If you make it look good, and it does look good, then things can turn around. And people will change their minds and people will change their perception. Notre Dame needs to do that. For it to be a success, play good football. I don't know about record. Play good football. Be a good football team. And the reason I know that, think about the 05 team. Think about the 2005 Notre Dame team. They beat nobody of consequence. Nobody. 0 ranked teams at the end of the season. None. People love that team. Why? Because it looked good. It was explosive. There was a plan. It looked well executed. People love that team for that reason, because it looked how it looked. Go play good football. Beat no one of consequence. Go play good football. Be explosive. Rajon says the complaints about the pass route sound the same as last year. 100%. 100%. It's like in the play action stuff. I don't want to tweet about it anymore but like one play action pass in a game, I've never seen it. It's shocking to me, but I just don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't want to talk about RPOs. I'm never mentioning an RPO ever again. They're not doing it. You bring in an RPO heavy coach and they're still not doing it. Reese didn't do it. Parker didn't do it. I'm not talking about it. I just can't. No Name says, can Lou leave his rocking chair and just take over the next couple months? It's funny. That's funny. I mean, he has experience with running quarterbacks who aren't good passers. That's for sure. Greg Wasserman says, a quarterback who is a weak passer and a mediocre wide receiver core does not amount to success. Just look at what Ohio State did with their transfer quarterback. I don't really know what you mean by that. But yeah, I mean, the first part is correct. Definitely doesn't lead to success if you're mediocre there. Sean O, sorry about the tooth implant surgery. More painful. Saturday was more painful. Sorry about the tooth implant stuff. That sucks. Um, Water Walker says, if the passing game and the lack of play action has been through 3 different OCs, could that be the supposed meddling with the offense people are saying Freeman is doing? I think that question is fair. I think the thing is that every time Marcus Freeman talks about offense, it's kind of like whatever works. He just doesn't seem like the type of guy that is like sitting in the offensive meetings giving advice and dictating things. I don't think he wants to even do that. Like, when has he ever, honestly, when has he ever spoke about offense in a way that feels like, you know what, this guy has really strong feelings about a drop back passing game and game plans and the way things go? He has always simply said, whatever works is good with me. It just doesn't seem like a guy who is dictating how things go to anyone. That's just my observation. It's a fair question, right? People are saying it. I don't know. I don't know why they're doing what they're doing across coordinators. It makes it seem, Freeman is the one constant. So that's the deal. Brian Walsh says, bring in Lou and run the option. Lou tried to run the option with Ron Paulus, so he's got a checkered history with these things. S Rock says, in response to Daniel Massoud's question, to be successful the rest of the season, Notre Dame needs to develop the O-line in the future and define your offensive identity. Yeah, I think they do need to do that. They definitely need to figure out what they're good at. They definitely need to figure out what they can do and maximize that. Will Puffin, do I still believe in Marcus Freeman? No. Straight up, no. I think this ends the way every other coach has ended other than BK. That's just how I feel. I don't think he solves this problem. I think he will end up not being successful at Notre Dame, right? That's just how I feel about it. I'm open to be wrong, very open to be wrong. It's just I don't think you can just do exactly the things you've done in the previous 2 years that were also not good enough. They weren't good enough. I think there were reasons to believe that he could get better. This loss and the way that they looked, it's not so much that they lost the game. It's just that they look completely inept on offense. And so I don't believe in him as far as being the type of coach that Notre Dame needs him to be. That's where I'm at. What am I not seeing? Stubborn Mick says, I know you say wide receiver not getting open, but I am seeing a lot of situations where Leonard isn't seeing guys that are open in key situations. Is it about trust? I know you're seeing. I don't remember. It's not about trust. I think he shouldn't have a trust issue. There's no reason for him not to trust his guys. I think it's just he doesn't know where he's supposed to be looking. But to be honest, like there's only been a couple occasions where it's like you should be throwing the ball somewhere else, right? It's okay. It's fine. He should be able to throw. Sorry, my kids are wondering if they can play outside. There's been a couple times where it's like that ball's got to go to another spot, but I just don't see guys running free and he's missing them. I just don't see that. There was the one play to Bo Collins. But other than that, I just think where he's supposed to be throwing it, he's throwing it. It's either a covered, it's off, or it's just a bad throw, or he doesn't have the time. Like there was a third and long in the first half where he ended up. I want to say he scrambled or got sacked, where as he's getting hit, all the wide receivers are breaking on their routes. They're at the sticks, and it's like he never had time. Just never had time to get the ball to any of them, and they it wasn't a successful play, right? You need some kind of check down, some kind of layered. There's no layered route tree to any of it. It's just there were four basically stops, run 10 yards and turn around, and they didn't have time. So DeBrasco 22 says, get Utah coach or Wisconsin's coach, keep Marcus as defensive coordinator. Yeah, first of all, that wouldn't happen. If Marcus Freeman is let go as the head coach, he will not be retained as any sort of coordinator. No. I mean, you think about retaining Mike Nickens. You think about that. I don't think Al Golden would stay. So, Irish for Life 99 says Reese Parker Denbrock coach. Cone, Hartman, Riley all regressed after coming to Notre Dame. Something a lot bigger going on. It's a fair observation. It's a fair observation. I don't know if Cone regressed. And I don't know if Reese didn't regress just because he was only at Notre Dame. But I think with Hartman and Riley and with Parker and Hartman and Riley just haven't been what we thought. So, yeah. So, look, it hasn't been enhanced. I'll tell you that. I think that's probably the most fair comment. It's not being enhanced by being at Notre Dame in their situation. Jack says, JAAC says, odds we let him go. Water Walker, not very high unless season crashes. We have to see how it goes. I'm just talking my own personal how I feel about it. I don't think Notre Dame is in a position to feel like moving on from him is imminent. It's kind of like the quarterback situation. It's kind of like the quarterback situation. You gotta start thinking about it. 100%. No Name says, Greg Flammang, you drank some Kool-Aid too last week after A&M. 100%. Hand up. I misread everything, like totally. I'm completely taken aback by this. I did not think this would happen. That's why my faith is so heavily shaken. This should not have happened. It should not have happened what happened yesterday. And so, like, for sure, hand up. I was wrong. I misread a lot of things. I misread what I thought Riley Leonard could do. I misread what I thought the offense would be under Mike Denbrock in scheme and execution. I misread how ready they were to be a premier team in college football. 100% I misread that. That's my bad. And frankly, I feel bad about it. Like, I apologize for being as I don't want to say optimistic as I was. I guess it is optimism. It was just wrong. Just bad call by me. That's a bad job. It's a bad job. But look, I just, like everyone else, I try to be honest. Like, I'm being honest. Being honest about how I felt. I'm being honest about what I'm feeling now. Right? I'm just reacting to how things are, right? Like, it's hard to see them go on the road at Texas A&M and beat that team and then lose and look like they did at home as 28-point favorites. It's just hard to see that coming. It's hard to kind of react to that and to see what it is. Matt Lafreniere says, loving it, but how are you still going? I don't know. I usually don't go this long. But look, people are in the chat talking about it, so I'm going to speak about it with you guys. I love all the questions. It was good. No Name says, oops, sorry about that. Freeman will get another year, and then he will be fired, and most students will cry and say it's unfair. I don't know about that. I don't think anyone will say it's unfair at this point. If he gets fired after year 4, I think that'll be, especially, I mean, they'll have to play poorly for that to happen. And if they continue to play poorly, then I think people will feel like it's justified. Jeffrey Zelinsky, did anyone predict 11-1 and NIU as the one loss? Maybe. I don't know. I didn't. I thought they'd lose to Stanford. But yeah, I thought they'd have a blip. I didn't think the blip would be like this, nor would it look like this. Yeah. Star Remix says, if Freeman goes 11-1 this year, that would be epic. If they go 11-1, they'll be in the playoff. 100%. People forget, and winning at home, winning on the road at USC to end the year, they'll be in the playoff. No question. No question. RC says, this is what happens when your first head coaching gig at any level is at Notre Dame. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, Brian Kelly, I don't know. He lost to Tulsa. He had some bad losses in there. 2014, he lost to Northwestern. That was terrible. 4-8 happened under Brian Kelly. He'd been coach for a long time. Notre Dame hasn't been able to find the formula. It's been a long time. The Notre Dame hasn't been able to find the formula at quarterback recently, and they haven't been able to find the formula at head coach. That's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. And it makes people feel like it's never going to happen. That's why people feel like that. Because you're trying to, they're obviously searching for it, but they can't, they cannot find it. Nick Gruel says, would Notre Dame let Marcus go 4-8 like BK? No. I mean, they let him go 4-8. He would not be retained. If they go 4-8 this year, he will not be the head coach next year. 100%. Because Brian Kelly they had been to national title game in 2012. In 2015, they had gone to the Fiesta Bowl, right? They were a last second field goal away from being like maybe a playoff team. So he had a lot going for him. Or more going for him, I should say, than Marcus does right now. Michael Sinnott says, remember when recruiting was supposed to improve? Yeah, that's not great. That's not going great. So, yeah, they're having the worst recruiting year under him. It's not good. All right, I think I will end it there because my children are starting to get antsy. They want to play. So I'll end it there. Thank you, everyone, for being in this chat with me and talking this game out. I really appreciate it. Jamie and I will be back on Tuesday to talk about this game and look for more pass forward, see if there's any news. Marcus Freeman's going to have his press conference on Monday, so we'll react to that, see what he says, and we'll move forward, right? Everything moves forward. So thank you, everyone, again, for tuning in. If you like what you heard today, please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the notification bell so you know whatever it is. We're going to go live, and links to this podcast are going to be in the description below. I will talk to you soon on Tuesday. And everyone, hey, keep hitting and hustling.